West Africa has become the global epicenter of terrorism. The Sahel accounted for 19% of all terrorist attacks worldwide and 51% of global terrorism-related deaths in 2024, up from 48% in 2023, according to the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria. The African Union Counter-Terrorism Center recorded more than 3,400 attacks across the continent in 2024, resulting in over 13,900 fatalities, according to United States Africa Command, AFRICOM. In Burkina Faso, arguably the hardest hit, nearly half the country is outside government control, with violence displacing over 2 million people and killing more than 8,000 last year, according to the Tactics Institute. The threat is rapidly spreading from the Sahel to coastal states, including Benin, Togo, Ghana, and Côte d'Ivoire. Root causes of terrorism in West Africa. Terrorism in the region is driven by long-standing structural challenges, not ideology alone. 1. Economic hardship and social inequality. According to Africa News, ECOWAS identifies weak governance, poverty, unemployment, and human rights abuses as primary drivers of terrorism. Groups like JNIM exploit economic desperation to recruit frustrated youth, offering both ideological appeal and financial incentives, per Second News. AFRICOM reports that youth marginalization and soaring unemployment have created a generation vulnerable to extremist recruitment. NPR also notes widespread poverty and inequality as major recruitment enablers. 2. Governance failures. According to the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria, terrorist groups exploit weak governance, intercommunal tensions, and limited state presence. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres emphasizes that terrorism thrives where the social contract is broken, urging investment in development and poverty reduction, International Crisis Group. When institutions are fragile, public services scarce, and women and youth excluded from decision-making, extremist groups gain influence, ABC News. 3. Security vacuums and geopolitical shifts, Western military withdrawals, France from Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, and the U.S. from Niger have widened security gaps, U.S. Department of State. The Security Council report notes that these withdrawals pushed governments toward new alliances, including Russia, while the dissolution of the G5 Sahel Joint Force further fragmented counterterrorism efforts. 4. Geographic and structural vulnerabilities. The UNODC highlights that vast, ungoverned spaces in the Sahel and Horn of Africa allow terrorists to infiltrate and operate freely. Porous borders and protected wildlife parks, like the W. Arli Penjari complex, provide dense cover for cross-border terrorist movement. The devastating effects of terrorism. 1. Mass displacement and humanitarian crisis. Violence has displaced over 2 million people, killed thousands, and threatens to destabilize neighboring states, U.S. Department of State. Since October 2024, more than 110,000 people have fled to Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, Togo, and Benin. Terrorists also commit sexual violence, forced marriages, abductions, and child recruitment, creating deep societal trauma, AFRICOM, ABC News. 2. Economic collapse. Terrorism destroys infrastructure, disrupts trade, and diverts limited resources towards security. Humanitarian funding remains critically low. Less than 25% of the $4.9 billion needed for the Sahel and Lake Chad Basin has been raised. Al Jazeera. Agricultural production collapses in conflict zones, worsening hunger and poverty. 3. Regional destabilization and spillover terrorist activity is rising in coastal states. Togo recorded 10 attacks and 52 deaths in 2024, up from 12 in 2023. U.S. Embassy in Nigeria. Extremist networks now stretch toward the Gulf of Guinea, aiding organized crime. 4. Global security threat. UN Secretary-General Guterres warns that expanding terrorist networks in West Africa now pose a growing global threat, with links forming between African groups and global extremist movements. Al Jazeera. Best methods for combating terrorism in West Africa. A decade of primarily military interventions has shown that the region needs a comprehensive, population-centered strategy. 1. Civilian-centered protection strategies. Future strategies must prioritize civilian lives and livelihoods, as jihadist groups center their operations around intimidation of local populations. Militaries should track civilian harm, train soldiers in civilian engagement, enforce zero tolerance for abuse and sexual violence. Improve communication to counter jihadist narratives. Security forces that harm civilians risk fueling recruitment rather than preventing it. 2. Addressing root causes through development. ECOWAS Vice President Finda Karoma stresses that terrorism cannot be defeated without tackling bad governance, poverty, unemployment, and human rights abuses. Building resilient societies requires implementing Agenda 2030 and Agenda 2063 through job creation, especially for youth investment in education and vocational training, improved public services and infrastructure, equitable resource distribution, stronger local governance and accountability. 3. Regional cooperation and intelligence sharing. According to EEW magazine, joint efforts must respect human rights and avoid stigmatizing communities. Guterres encourages intelligence sharing through the UN Global Counter-Terrorism Compact and ECOWAS mechanisms. Key operational frameworks include Multinational Joint Task Force, MNJTF, in the Lake Chad Basin Accra Initiative for Coastal States, ECOWAS Standby Force. These mechanisms enhance coordination, humanitarian access, and cross-border security. Open Doors, U.S. 4. Integrated civil-military approaches of the MNJTF demonstrates the value of linking military operations with civilian engagement. Culturally attuned teams build trust, identify vulnerabilities to radicalization, and encourage communities to rely on governments rather than extremists. Factually. 5. Strengthening rule of law and justice systems. The Trans-Sahara Counter-Terrorism Partnership aims to improve legal processes, detention conditions, and prosecution of terrorists. Al Jazeera. Effective justice requires transparent courts, human rights, compliant detention, rehabilitation programs for former fighters, accountability for abuses by security forces. 6. Counter-radicalization and community engagement. ECOWAS action plans promote cultural and moral education through religious and traditional institutions. Euronews. Key steps include empowering traditional and religious leaders, providing alternatives for marginalized youth, strengthening trust between communities and security forces, addressing local grievances. Extremists exploit. 7. Border security and cross-border cooperation. The Trans-Sahara Counter-Terrorism Partnership enhances border monitoring and interdiction. Effective border management requires joint patrols, shared intelligence, disruption of smuggling networks, ensuring border zones do not become safe havens. 8. Sustainable financing and international support. UN Resolution 2719 supports predictable financing for AU-led counter-terrorism operations. Global Christian relief. Long-term international commitments, not short, episodic interventions, are essential. 9. African-led solutions. The High-Level African Counter-Terrorism Meeting in Nigeria, April 2024, reaffirmed that African-owned solutions must lead the fight. ABC News. Locally driven strategies ensure political coherence, sustainability, and genuine ownership. Euronews. Critical lessons learned. According to EW magazine, military solutions alone cannot succeed unless political, economic, and governance reforms accompany them. Despite years of foreign intervention, terrorism has increased and extremist groups have gained territorial control. The path forward requires shifting from enemy-centric operations to population-centric strategies that rebuild trust between states and citizens. Only by addressing poverty, exclusion, injustice, and weak governance, while protecting civilians and ensuring accountability, can West Africa reverse the rising tide of extremism.